ladies and gentlemen, and one of the most creative scorers in the W.
Starting to go on a rampage here. They've cut it to 5.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and everything Chicago sports related podcast. I'm really excited about this episode because it's something that we've been waiting for a very long time. Next starts here, baby. The Chicago Cubs are making their first September call-up by bringing up 23-year-old outfielder, top prospect. I mean, top of the line when we talk about guys that I'm excited about to really get to the Chicago Cubs roster, Alexander Canario. This is a guy that I've been watching for a very long time, since his time in San Francisco. He's somebody that I think is going to be pivotal for this offense and somebody that can honestly rake. I would say if you had to put a guesstimate on it right now, he's your 30-30 guy when it comes to stolen bases and home runs. On defense, this Cubs team is desperately lacking somebody that I feel like is a true power hitter, somebody that's going to rake in baseballs. I mean, that's just what it is. We have Dansby Swanson and Cody Bellinger right now, and those are amazing, amazing talents. But when I'm talking about a guy who is going to absolutely dominate on all ends, Alexander Canario meets that criteria. Right now, let's get into it. Let's have this conversation. Where did he come from? Who is he? We've had these talks all season long about who he is and what he means to the Chicago Cubs offense. Alexander Canario was obviously signed by the San Francisco Giants in 2016 at only the age of 16 years old for $60,000 out of the Dominican Republic. He's somebody that I believe that they felt very highly on. They were so bought into this kid that they were willing to take a chance and trade him away in a season where they were chasing for the pennant. They were not only trying to win the division, they're trying to win a pennant in 2021 to take it back to the MLB trade deadline, where they won first place in their division in the NL West, facing off against the Dodgers, facing off against the Padres. They had to do something, so they trade away Caleb Killian and Alexander Canario for Chris Bryant, a former MVP, a World Series champion, the face and franchise of the Chicago Cubs. It desperately was just a move they needed to make. And that's honestly, at the end of the day, that's how you have to look at it. Like if you're traded for Chris Bryant, a former MVP, you can't be disappointed. You can't be upset. So I love every single minute of what we did to get those two guys. I mean, obviously Caleb Killian, from a major league standpoint, hasn't turned into what we want him to be, but Alexander Canario has been everything and more for the Chicago Cubs. So far in the minors, he has been an absolute animal, but let's only talk about what he's done for the Chicago Cubs, because from 2016 on with the Giants, we can talk about it all day, but it doesn't really matter. What has he produced on all three levels of baseball for the Chicago Cubs, from high A to South Bend to Tennessee, all the way to Iowa, and now to the friendly confines at beautiful historic Wrigley Field? Let's have that conversation. Let's get into it. 2022, in all three levels, he jacked 37 home runs and 97 RBIs with 59 walks. An absolute iconic season. We were talking so much about Matt Mervis and him having over 40 jacks on the year, climbing the rankings, but nobody was talking about Alexander Canario. And that was something that I feel like, obviously, when you have guys like Brennan Davis, obviously when you have guys like Pete Crow Armstrong and Matt Mervis, you're going to get lost in it because there's so many different prospects that are coming up. Christopher Morel being another one of them, Miguel Amaya, Jordan Wicks, Cade Horton, the list goes on. Ben Brown, even being added towards the deadline of last year. You know, there's a lot of guys that we can look at and say, you know, Alexander Canario's a stud, but let's see what happens with these other individuals. Now, there were rumors and there was speculation that potentially at some point during the 2023 season, we were going to see him. Now, obviously, we don't see him until September, but a big part of that was in the Dominican Winter Baseball League. He had a catastrophic injury. Going to first base, or about to round first base, he twists his ankle, absolutely tears. I mean, I don't even know how many muscles he tore in his ankle, but it was horrible. And it was an injury that I was very worried about for him in the future. It was an injury that I thought definitely could deplete his 2023 season. And it kind of did, in a sense. You know, he comes back in 2023. He's batting .273 on the year, 9 home runs, 47 RBIs, and an OPS of .844. He's been a stud. He's been a stud, but it's not what we're typically used to seeing. It's not the 37 home runs and 97 RBIs. in total of 2022. On top of that, though, to be fair, to have those conversations, in 2022, you have 37 home runs, but how many of them were in high A? How many of them were in double A? How many of them were in triple A? You know, you didn't spend as much time in Iowa as you did this year. And that's where you're going to see the best competition is in double A and triple A. But with that being said, I'm really excited about what this potentially means for a guy like Alexander Canario, who, is on the cusp, I guess you could say, of getting to the MLB. And I don't know what this means for him going into 2024. I'm not going to sit up here and say it's him over Pete Crow Armstrong or Pete Crow Armstrong over him. Obviously, if we're going to sit up here, because a lot of people are asking in the comments right now, a lot of people are asking questions, why not Pete Crow Armstrong? Why not Brennan Davis? Why not these guys? First and foremost, to get into Brennan Davis, unfortunately, he just hasn't been healthy this season or last season is all. It's very unfortunate. And Pete Crow Armstrong, to that point, he's a lot younger. And he's also been in AAA for what, a month? Alexander Canario has been there for about a year and a half now. And I think that's a comfortable position right now to when you're in AAA for this long. Same with Matt Mervis. Now you have a full year and a half under your belt. You have these conversations of, okay, I'm comfortable. I'm happy where I am. I know how this looks. And the only next place to go is the majors. And that's really the conversation you need to have with yourself. Pete Crow Armstrong playing 20 plus games in AAA isn't good enough. It just isn't good enough. And to be completely honest, you want him to develop into who he's going to become, and you don't want to rush that. Alexander Canario has been in the AAA Iowa Cubs system for a year and a half. Like, that's the reality of the situation. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. I'm excited for what this means for this present-day Chicago Cubs roster and what it means for the future when it comes to guys like Matt Mervis, Brennan Davis, Pete Crow Armstrong, Jordan Wicks, other guys who we know and we expect to see in 2024. Alexander Canario now is knocking on that door at being one of the first guys to do it alongside Christopher Morel and obviously Nelson Velasquez for a short period of time, Miguel Amaya, Jordan Wicks presently. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely something that I think moving forward, it just gets better. It's just going to continue to get better. It's going to be more and more exciting every single day. Like I said, I mean, this kid is so electrifying, and I'm very excited right now. So I do apologize if I'm kind of all over the place, but this wasn't something I was completely expecting at this very moment. I was very curious to see what David Ross, Jed Hoyer, and Carter Hawkins were going to do in September call-ups. I expected maybe Ben Brown and a couple others, but I didn't see Canario being one of those guys, just because I think our position in the outfield right now is so strange because you have Christopher Morel DHing pretty much every day. The outfielding experiment is over. You have Ian Happ, who you just extended. He's a Gold Glover out there. You have Seiya Suzuki, who's starting to get hot, and obviously the MVP in Mike Tauchman. You thought I was going to say Cody Bellinger. Mike Tauchman. No, I'm playing. But you have Mike Tauchman out there, and obviously you have Cody Bellinger out there at times as well when he's not playing first base. But, you have those conversations and you say, where does Canario fit here? And where I don't think he's going to get a lot of starts, I think on days that they're going to give Ian Happ some rest or Seiya Suzuki some rest, you're definitely going to see him more involved. Probably starts off pinch hitting, probably starts off just getting a few reps here and there. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be very exciting in the future to see what happens with Alexander Canario and what he means to the Chicago Cubs team when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, we're going to be doing a whole nother video in a few days, kind of just talking about what it means for the organization and what it means for the team. The fact that we took 2 out of 3 against the Milwaukee Brewers. We are 3 games out of first place, and we are in the position right now. If the season ended today, we are one of the last wild card spots, and we will be playing against the Philadelphia Phillies in the first round. I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to talk to my guy, Michael Powers, about it. I can't wait to talk to all my guys in Philly about it, just break that down. But, I think it's a great matchup. If we win that matchup, then we go and play the Atlanta Braves, who we were amazing against. And by that time, maybe you even get a guy like Marcus Stroman back. I'm excited for what this means. I'm excited for what the organization can do moving forward. This is a guy that can steal bases. This is a guy that can play electrifying defense. His bat is going to be what keeps him in the majors as long as it does, because he's absolutely incredible. He can rake the ball. He can position himself to be in the best position possible. When runners are on base, he's driving them in. That's who Alexander Canario is. To give my synopsis, I've seen him in person. I've seen him at Iowa. I've seen him in AA. I've been a part of the organization watching these guys grow for the last few years, and I'm really excited to see him moving forward more than anybody. Pete Crow Armstrong, electrifying. We know what he is. Guys like Matt Mervis, he's going to piss out 40 home runs a year if you give him the opportunity to. But Alexander Canario is in a situation to where I feel like he's and this is in no correlation of their game, but more so of what they bring to the team. You knew in the old regime, you knew that Rizzo and Bryant were going to be the cornerstones. but he reminds you of a Javier Baez. Maybe not right away, but at some point he could be the face of this franchise. I truly do believe that. Now, do I believe that about everybody in the system? No. I'm not going to go out there and say that just for no reason, but I do believe in this kid. I do think this kid is going to be very promising. Now, even if it doesn't look great throughout the next 30 plus days in September, it's perfectly fine. But getting those big league reps are going to be very critical. I'm very excited to see what this means for the Chicago Cubs moving forward. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. That's our live breakdown about Alexander Canario getting called up to the Chicago Cubs organization this Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun to see who else gets called up and who else is going to join the Chicago Cubs sometime this September. Until then, I will be back later tonight talking about Chicago Cubs baseball. Let's go, baby. Next start's here.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.